Hello, everyone. Welcome to the next installment of our Frequency Foundry Customer Success webinar series. I'm very excited for today's topic, Unlocking the Future of Admissions Through AI. I'll start with some introductions here. So I'm Mike McEwen, Customer Success Manager here at Foundry. I'm joined by three presenters today. I'm pleased to welcome Miguel Molina, founder and CEO of our close partner here, Analytikus Education. We're also joined by Charles Finstad, Chief Revenue Officer at Foundry, and Corinne Bittner, Manager of Business Development. So just to give you some idea of the agenda for today, Charles is going to start us off and provide a bit of context and background around the current higher education landscape. And then Miguel is going to come in and introduce Admissions Optimizer, which is an AI-driven admission and enrollment solution. And then Corinne will provide a demo illustrating how Admissions Optimizer's insights can be leveraged within Greymatter. So that is the plan for today's webinar. Just a little bit of housekeeping here as we go. This is a live webinar, so we're excited to get your questions and feedback as we go. So within the webinar tool that we're using, there's a Q&A feature. So you'll be typing your questions in there. We'll do our best to answer all the questions that you ask during the presentation. We'll either answer them directly within the tool itself, or we'll set aside some time at the end to come on screen and address some of the questions directly live. So between the two, we'll try and cover all the questions off. Of course, if there's any questions that we don't get to, or you think of anything after the fact, we'd be happy to answer them. You can reach us at customersuccess@frequencyfoundry.com. So I will turn it over to Charles.
All right, great. Thanks, Mike, and thanks for the opportunity to chat here today. Definitely appreciate that. I think we want to start off with a little bit of context for the sort of the general business and operations landscape that higher education is faced with today. The enrollment, the admissions side of higher education has been challenged for the past few years for a pretty wide variety of reasons. We all understood that sometime around 2025, 2026, the higher education industry is going to experience a huge demographic shift for the first time in modern history. The number of graduating high school students will start to fall in the United States. This is something that that universities and colleges have been aware of for a few years, but it is really sort of coming to roost. We had I'm sure starting in 2020, everybody remembers we had this small issue with COVID, which sort of accelerated that issue. It made the issue of enrollment arrive a lot sooner than we thought it was going to. So we had the challenges of deferments, and then people generally questioning whether or not higher education was a good idea. And even today in media, there's more and more discussion around that scrutinization of the value of a higher education. There's a wide variety of issues in industry that are putting a tremendous amount of pressure on enrollment numbers in higher education across North America. Now, I know we have some Canadian schools on the call here as well. So, there's an additional potential issue now coming with the federal government in Canada restricting student visas, which again for our Canadian friends is going to ramp up the pressure there even more. Really, what we're faced with here is kind of a crisis or a challenge to meet the enrollment numbers, to put the butts in seats in our institutions in order to make our institutions sustainable in the long run. Right? That whole concept of organizational stability is really sort of coming to the front, and a lot of that is going to be relieved, or a lot of that battle is going to be fought on the efficacy and the efficiency of the investment that institutions are able to put into their recruiting and admissions efforts. So from our context, from the Frequency Foundry side, we build a lifecycle CRM solution, Greymatter, right? That really models the processes, and it captures the data that are required to effectively execute recruiting and admission kind of activities. We provide the reports and the analytics and the dashboards and the tracking of progress and the engagement mechanisms that help an institution move a constituent through the process, right? Move a prospect to becoming somebody that has made an application for admission, converting on an LOA. All of those things are things we do inside our product. However, with the the prevalence of AI and with the partnership that we have formed with Analytikus, and I believe that Miguel will talk a little bit more about that, we have been able to supplement what we can do from the process side in a CRM solution to support your recruit and admissions. And we're supplementing it with the tool that you're going to see today from Analytikus and our team that plugs into the data that we collect on students, and really provides some unique, accurate, and tremendously insightful pieces of data that will allow you to better execute, maximize that efficiency and efficacy of your recruiting and admissions processes. So that's sort of the setup for the next part of the session here. So I'm going to turn over to Miguel, I think, to take over, and let's get into this and see what we've got.
Before I start, I want to give you a little bit of extra context and background on this venture between Greymatter and Analytikus. As you already know, Greymatter covers the student life cycle from a CRM perspective, and Analytikus is covering an analytical layer. And that combination is exactly what I want to share with you with this little story. So, as every story begins, at the beginning there was data. And of course, institutions started to producing tons of data. But there was one problem, or there is still one big problem, which is most institutions are producing the data as silos. So it is difficult to have a general view of whatever is happening in your institution, and let alone use the data to train precise models, not only for admissions, but also for retention or for learning. This is the number one pain that Greymatter solves today. So from a data perspective, to have everything integrated on an interconnected system empowers whatever you're going to do later with AI. Remember, what AI needs to be powerful is an integrated set of data that allows you to have a holistic view of whatever is happening with your students. So when you have no data silos, you unlock the student potential. So I'm going to go a little bit more technical, and I want to show you how those layers look like. So on the bottom, we have the different transactional systems, the SIS, the LMS, the ERP, Greymatter as a transactional CRM. There might be additional data sources like the Microsoft Graph or others. The data flows into this data layer, which is the data model. In this case, Greymatter is playing two roles, CRM from a transactional perspective, but also the warehouse where you have pieces from the SIS, from the LMS, from the ERP, from Greymatter, and from additional sources. Once you have that holistic view, then you can activate different AI modules. And of course, there are many ways to engage with the students, engage with institution, engage with faculty. One of them is through the use of virtual agents. So let me just unwrap these AI modules for a second. Today, we're going to talk about Admissions Optimizer, which is the one on the far left. But I'm going to mention the other 4 use cases that are embedded within Greymatter. So Portrait is a learning analytics solution. And the way that works, it gathers from the LMS through the Greymatter data model how the student is learning. Not how the student is learning math or economics, but how he learns, how the learning process works for a particular student. And based on that understanding, it activates a pedagogical virtual agent to support the student from a learning perspective. Retention, the third use case, of course, that is one of the most common use cases that we see today in the space of predictive analytics. So same case, you have different transactionals where the students are leaving behind many digital signals integrated into Greymatter. The data is used from Greymatter to train machine learning models, dozens of machine learning models to identify different characteristics of the student in order to predict whether a student might drop out or not. That can be calculated every week, every other week, and so on. The virtual agent can interact with the student, but also the data goes back down to the transactional Greymatter system, allowing the institution to simplify the interventions for those students at risk. We're living in the era of generative AI, and of course, we have one of our solutions is very heavy on generative AI. So imagine you can, out of the Greymatter layer, you can understand if a student might be struggling with a particular subject. Through the use of a pre-trained large language models plugged into Greymatter, you can support on a personalized way a particular student. And a skills planner at the very end is a use case that aims at identifying what are the skills that the student has developed through the courses that he has completed, but also using a third system, allowing you to understand what are the skills that the market is demanding. It puts everything again into the data model of Greymatter in order to understand what are the skills that the market is demanding, what are the skills that the student has in order to identify the gap and prescribe, using the Greymatter transactional CRM system, prescribe courses in order to maximize the employability of the student. So before I jumped into Admissions Optimizer, I wanted to give you this view on how all the pieces fit together. Having said that, we're going to talk about Admissions Optimizer now. And the core of Admissions Optimizer is how could we support educational institutions on their efforts to attract the students, maximizing conversion, minimizing the cost of bringing new students. So it's a machine learning scoring solution. And what that means is we're using classification models, historical data, in order to train the machine to identify what are the attributes that explain the conversion and what are the values that maximize the conversion. The solution is composed of 4 modules. The first one is the one that I described, lead scoring. And the other 3, candidate profiling, is the core of the solution is supporting marketing teams on not only on identifying how I should talk to a particular prospect, but also on whatever marketing campaign I'm going to launch, understanding what are the demographics that I should focus on for a particular program, for a particular campus, for a particular cycle, for a particular modality. And that gives the marketing teams literally superpowers to minimize their investment and maximize the conversion. Let's say for a second that a prospect comes in, starts the journey on our conversion funnel. How should I talk to that particular student? That is the personalized follow-up. So the machine has learned which type of follow-ups you do to particular students, to particular segments, and prescribes to the commercial team what is the optimal follow-up for a particular student. That is the third module. And the fourth module understands if I have a limited budget and I want to bring particular number of prospects into my funnel, how should I make those investments? What is the ideal mix that I should pursue? So very briefly, I'm going to double click on each of these modules. So the first one, as I just shared, is lead scoring. The core of this one is to support making priorities on which prospects to engage first. And not only to engage first, but which ones I should have somebody calling them and which ones I should manage the communication online. It systematically calculates the probability of the candidate conversion. So imagine you have your conversion funnel, and let's say it looks like I'm interested, I go to informational session, I submit my documents, and I enroll. I'm simplifying it, of course. So what the solution does, it calculates the probability from one stage to the other, and from any point within the funnel to the enrollment phase. The second module, the optimization of the candidate profile. Corinne, in a few minutes, is going to show you a live report on how it engages and how it communicates with the CRM. But just for the sake of the example, what this module does is understanding what are the attributes that are explaining the conversion and what are the values that are maximizing it. So what that means is for marketing teams to be able to understand that a particular program, a particular campus, a particular modality, my investments should aim at this particular segment. Personalized follow-ups. What this module does is every prospect is unique. And we should understand how we should engage with that prospect. What would be the ideal engagement to maximize the conversion? And this is exactly what it does. It learns based on historical data for a particular segment. What was the ideal mix? What time should I call? Which day should I call? Which channel should I use? And it prescribes to the commercial team what is the follow-up that should be done for a particular prospect. Last, the media optimization campaigns. So I already have a budget. I already have a goal that I want to reach. What are the ideal channels and sub-channels that I should invest in order to maximize the conversion? This is what this module does. So of course, when you put everything together, what is the expected impact? Number one, to optimize the admission process. Number two, of course, I want to minimize my investment in order to maximize the conversion rate. Improve the targeting and resource allocation. Sometimes it's not only about the amount of prospects that I bring into my funnel, but also to improve the profiles. And when you have a holistic view within Greymatter, not only on the amount of students that enroll, but also which particular type of students reach their graduation, you can understand and bring that information back into the admissions process. And of course, the marketing campaign optimization. One of the things where we are investing for 2024, as you might imagine, is generative AI. So we're putting many generative AI components as part of the solution. One of them is through the use of narratives. So today, the solution, as Corinne will share in a minute, involve the understanding of the different indicators and probabilities. The narratives allow the commercial team to simplify the understanding of where a particular prospect is today, and also understand, using narratives, what is the ideal contact method, what is the ideal timing, and what is the prospect priority. And here's a very basic example. So this is a prospect, 17-year-old, shows interest in Bachelor of Communication. She's in the application stage of the conversion funnel, and she has shown commitment and is a promising candidate for enrollment. Although she has received a high number of emails and calls to date, her interaction is significantly higher with emails, and so on and so forth. So the recommendations for the commercial team would be how to contact, when to contact, and what is the priority of this contact. Last but not least, the engagement with the prospect can be simplified also through the use of generative AI. So for those institutions that want to pilot this is something new, something that we're working and will be releasing soon, is to create through generative AI personalized messages for a particular prospect. And this is an example. Hi, Carla, we hope this message finds you well. We're excited about your interest. So what we're trying to do here is to minimize the effort that the commercial team should invest in order to create these personalized messages. So this is what I wanted to show to you today. Happy to answer any questions at the end. I'm going to pass the microphone to Corinne, and she's going to help us understand how the AI component fits into Greymatter at the point of contact. Thank you, Corinne. All yours.
Perfect. Thank you, Miguel. I'll just share my screen. Before we get into the admissions optimizer, I just want to run through Greymatter for those who may not be familiar with the platform. Greymatter is a full lifecycle CRM that's split into work areas. So we're depending on who you are in the institution, you'll work within the recruit area or the admit area, retain, promote, advancement. So dealing with donor management, marketing and events across the board, and same with scheduling and appointments. So navigation is as follows. We're going to work within the recruit and the admit area for this demonstration today. Look, what we're looking at here is a dashboard. This is a Power BI dashboard. So we do have two different types of dashboards, system dashboards within the CRM and Power BI, a little bit more interactive and a little bit more, you can drill down into the data. So what we're seeing here is an example of the admissions optimizer utilizing Greymatter data. Starting with the campaign automation or optimization report, this report looks at the different feature weights as well as the variables that carry the probabilities of conversion and allows you to make informed decisions on how you're going to optimize your campaigns. Next, we're going to take a look at the funnel, which looks at the descriptive approach to understanding, the average conversion rates. So looking at the enrollment funnel here, we can see the average conversion by participation with events, all of those different features. Next, we're going to look at the student report. So this is important because this allows us to now segment our applicants or recruits into different probability brackets. What I'm going to do is take a look at all of my applicants that maybe have a high probability of conversion. And when I take a look at those applicants that have a high probability of conversion, I can actually now segment those and take a look at those at a CRM level and how I want to interact with those. So from there, I'm going to navigate over to our student predictions. So this brings over that data from the CRM. And just to, I'm just going to backtrack for 1 minute here. Going back to our dashboard, we can see that our student IDs, our students are masked by student IDs. This is for privacy, any privacy concerns that the institution might have just when you're sharing a kind of institutional dashboard like this. However, if we do want to drill down and look at the student holistically as a contact, we're able to do that within the system as well. So as we can see, all of those student IDs correspond with a student. And we're going to take a look at Tyrell here. He's got the most probability to enroll. We want to communicate with him effectively, and so on here. So we're going to take a look at Tyrell. When we drill into Tyrell's student admissions optimizer record, we're able to see that we have a link to the student record, which we'll take a look at in a minute. We know his enrollment likelihood is high. We can see his probability of enrollment. We know the influencers, so age, math grades, previous school. We know his program of study. So we're able to take a look at all of this holistically and get a good view on what is driving his admissions and recruitment efforts here. So when we actually drill down into Tyrell, into the student record here, we're able to see all of this contact data. So keep in mind that Greymatter allows us to look at a student in various ways. So depending on the type of student we're dealing with, we'll have a form for that. So whether they're a recruit, whether they're an applicant, whether they're a current student, maybe even a staff member, a volunteer, we're able to view Tyrell in any of those contact forms. But what we can see here is a nice visual of where Tyrell is in the life cycle process. We're able to see various information such as addresses, and keep in mind that the information that's here we can configure. So whatever you want to surface within a form, so whatever information is relevant, we're able to configure those forms accordingly. We can see his communication preferences, so how he prefers to be communicated with. Next, we're going to take a look at his admissions AI form here. So this allows us to really drill into Tyrell's contact record. We're able to see his probability of enrollment, the key influencers again, but this time we're also incorporating his program application. So it's showing us where this information is coming from. From there, we're able to dig into his persona segment. So we know that, his key influencers here are age, math, and grades. We're able to create a segment for those key influences and use marketing tools to make sure he gets the proper communications. So I'm going to click into the persona segment here. So here I can take a look at associated campaign automations. And this is important because now we can see where he falls in and how he is going to be communicated with through automation or a marketing automation process. So I am going to click into the automation that he's a part of based on those key influences. And we're going to take a look at what a marketing campaign would look like utilizing the admissions optimizer data with the CRM data as well. So here we're able to take a look at our builder. And what we're seeing here is a sort of process flow. So essentially what's happening is anytime someone is considered a high probability of enrollment, they're added to a segment. And that segment is highlighted here. We're able to configure that within the system and ensure that the right data is gathered and the right members are added to these segments. From there, we're able to drill down and ensure that specific communications are sent to the correct recipients. So based on the fact that our contact's primary influence is age, secondary influence is math grades, and third is previous school, they'll receive email 1, so on and so forth. So this is completely configurable based on how you want to market, but just letting the folks know here that we are able to definitely drill down and get more detailed on how we want to communicate based on data points within the contact record. Going back to our builder, we can see that, based on certain attributes within the contact record, we'll send email 1, email 2, email 3. Next, we can actually even make sure that this person has enrolled before we send them any more emails. So we're going to use a trigger to check for enrollment. We can send them to an enrollment campaign once they've enrolled. If they haven't by a certain time, let's give them more nudges. So this is a pretty comprehensive campaign automation builder that allows you to utilize wait timers, date timers, all sorts of triggers and actions on the side here to create a personalized journey. And within all of these, we are able to create templated emails that will allow you to personalize each contact's journey. From there, we're able to take a look at statistics here. Let this pull up here. And this allows us to sort of identify any bottlenecks. So we're able to click in, view emails that have been opened, interacted with, and we can even trigger new communications based on email interactions. So really important to get these email statistics right within the campaign automation. Now, this can be surfaced as a dashboard. You can click into it just looking at the campaign automation. Several different ways to view this information. It can be built into a report. So the possibilities are endless with the way to capture the data and distribute the data. We can also take a look at individual participants and take a look at sort of where they sit within the campaign and where they've journeyed through the campaign. So when I take a look at the timeline here, I can see he was added here, sent an admissions email, so you can see where he hit on all of the different communication points. So that's all we had for the demo for today. And I think what we wanted to do was open this up to some questions. Michael, I'll let you sort of take the lead on that. Thank you, everyone, for listening to the presentation.
Everyone, yeah. So we got some time now for some Q&A. I think I noticed a couple questions that were mentioned in the Q&A section that maybe we want to speak to. Miguel, I saw one of them for you. I think the question was, are the predictions done using generative AI?
Yeah, thank you, Michael, and thank you for the question. So the answer is no. The predictive model is using a traditional machine learning modeling technique. And what that means is we have to use historical data to train the machine to learn what are the patterns that explain whether a candidate is going to enroll at some point. So we're not using a large language model for the prediction component. However, we're using large language models to interact at different points of the solution. So as I was sharing with you, we integrate generative AI in order to simplify how the commercial team is going to engage on understanding where a particular prospect is today. Another example would be using generative AI to generate automatically or systematically personalized messages for potential candidates. That's where generative AI is playing an active role. The predictions per se are used, are modeled using historical data. And that brings me to an interesting point, which is, let's say you started your Greymatter implementation today, so you might not have historical data. If there is no historical data, we cannot train the model unless we bring historical data from your legacy system. Once you have historical data, the way you train it, I'm just going to simplify this. Let's say you bring data from the last year, and I would use only 6 months to train the machine to try to figure out what are the patterns that explain whether a student is going to convert. And I would try to predict the 6 months that I didn't use to train it. But I know what happened. I know if the students actually converted or not, if the candidates enroll or not. And that's the way I validate. So before any of these gets actually operational, you know the precision of every single model. And remember, you might end up with dozens of models for each stage, for different segments, and so on. So hope that answers the question. Thank you, Michael.
Okay, great. See another question in the chat. Maybe this one probably be best for Corrine. The question is, can we enter multiple segments into the same campaign rather than create individual ones?
Yes, for sure. So you can have multiple entry points for various campaigns. It's a determination of how comprehensive you want to make your campaign. So multiple entry points, multiple branches within that campaign, very possible. Yes.
Okay, great. So we'll see if any other questions come in. Actually, I see one. Miguel, I don't know if you see the question from, yeah.
Yeah, perfect. So the question is, when a prospect has several admission processes, which typically is the case, how can the machine learning and AI model take that into consideration? So as an individual institution, unless you know, you might ask the question, are you applying to different institutions? That could be used as an input for the model. And historical data would tell you if a student or a prospect in this case is applying to more than one institution, this is how it is correlated with whether they are going to enroll or not. So that is the way it would be considered within the modeling. We don't know, since this is implemented at an institutional level, we don't actually know to which institutions the student might be applying. Hopefully that answers the question. I don't know, Charles, if you'd like to add anything on that. You're on mute in case you're...
Yes, of course. I've only been failing on the mute button for 3 or 4 years now, so apologies for that. No, I think I do want to address the one question that I saw here regarding whether how you proceed if you are a current Greymatter customer. How do you go about implementing Admissions Optimizer? The process, I think Miguel has started describing how that implementation process works and how the learning works. Of course, there's always going to be a commercial discussion that goes around with it. We've tried to make the model here as simple as possible for current Greymatter customers or customers that are looking to simultaneously implement Greymatter along with a tool like Admissions Optimizer. So it is a flat monthly, it's a flat annual fee that we charge to add Admissions Optimizer to the Greymatter instance, and we'd be very happy to talk to you about that. You can contact me at I'm Charles at Frequency Foundry, or you can contact my team, which is resonate@frequencyfoundry.com. So either one of those addresses, and we'd be happy to have a detailed conversation with you around.
Okay, so I don't see any more questions in the chat, so we'll call it good there. Great conversation. Really enjoyed that. On the screen, you'll notice Charles mentioned a few contact points, but a few additional ones on the screen here. So if you have any comments, feedback, additional questions, again, you can use this general customer success at frequencyfoundry.com. I see a typo in customer success, so assume the C is an S. But yeah, you can reach us there, or you can reach out to Miguel directly at molina@analytikus.com. If you have your phones handy, you can also connect with Miguel using the QR code that's displayed on the screen. Okay, thank you everyone. Great session, appreciated it. Have a wonderful day.